This is completely off the cuff, 100% improvised. We haven't discussed this beforehand. We've picked a topic and we are going to just discuss what we think will happen and how the story will turn out.
Yes. Yeah, to be fair, we actually picked the topic as we were setting up the camera, so that shows how little time we've had to prepare.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you've seen by the title of the video, but today's topic, today's discussion is going to be, what if Aragorn never summoned the Army of the Dead?
Yes.
Now, this is an interesting one because the Army of the Dead, or the Oathbreakers, as you may know them, are kind of a topic of controversy.
Yes, they were one of the more altered aspects for the movies. But we will be talking about the book, What If. Like that's the scenario we're in. We're not following Peter Jackson's version right
now. No. Although, I think if we were, it would have an even bigger...
Yes. Yeah, we'll give it a brief mention at the end. But yeah, that's not where our decisions are going to be going from.
Okay, so let's go from the beginning.
So let's set the scene.
At this point in the story, everything has gone as we know it. The three hunters are with the Rohirrim, gathering their forces to try and reinforce Gondor.
Yes.
Don't forget, in the book, we have the Grey Company, as well as Elladan and Elrohir, the twin sons of Elrond.
Yes.
They're all there accompanying Aragorn.
Yeah.
And in the actual story, as a huge group, say 30, Grey Company, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Elladan, and Elrohir, all head off to summon the Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
Now, the main purpose of that is for them to sort of intercept the Corsairs of Umbar, right?
Yes, it's basically to stop them being able to reinforce Sauron's forces. They've basically been keeping a lot of Gondor's armies occupied. And yeah, basically, if those reinforcements can get to the battle, then they just don't have the numbers to match them.
Yeah, it's truly a lost cause if that happens. So the idea behind going to the Army of the Dead is to stop those. And in the books, it's through fear, essentially, that the army causes most of the Corsairs of Umbar to abandon ship and they drown or they swim back to where they came from.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the Rangers of the North, along with the three hunters, Elladan and Elrohir, they arrive at the Battle of Pelennor to back up Gondor.
Yes. So, I mean, yeah, because to be fair, it is worth mentioning that in the book, it's very much a fool's hope that this is actually going to work, which is why Aragorn doesn't really tell anyone or tell Theoden and the Rohirrim what he's actually doing, because although there's all these rumors and stories, basically legends of this dead army as such, nobody really knows that they're there for sure. So this is very much he could just go and end up making himself unavailable for the battle for no reason.
Yeah. So in our story, Aragorn has decided to take the thought that this Army of the Dead doesn't exist and I'm not yet king. Maybe even if they do exist, my powers won't have any effect and they won't follow me.
Yeah.
So they stay with the Rohirrim. Now, in terms of the time that the Rohan reinforcements arrive, doesn't change between our version and the real version.
Yep.
Yeah, they arrive at the same time. The only difference being they have Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and co. However, in the actual story, when Aragorn went with his group to summon the Army of the Dead then not only stopped the reinforcements of the Corsairs of Umbar arriving at Pelennor, but they freed many of Gondor's southern fiefdoms to also back them up. Yeah. So now the biggest difference is we don't just have reinforcements on top of reinforcements with an extra army of southern Gondorians arriving to face an already not reinforced army from Mordor. But now we have reinforcements without the Gondorian reinforcements, plus Mordor is now reinforced. So that's a big difference.
Yes, and this was basically the whole reason that Denethor decided the best bet was to burn himself alive, was because he had been shown by Sauron in the Palantir that these Corsairs of Umbar were on their way. So he was like, well, if they're coming as well, there's no chance.
Yeah. And that tells you just how many of them there are and how much of a difference they would be expected to make in this battle.
I mean, they were basically stopping southern Gondor from helping at all. So that shows, on again, how many there would have been.
Yeah. So now we've got an extra weak Gondor/Rohan and an extra strong forces of Sauron.
Yeah.
Now, taking all that into consideration, I think the route that this battle is going to go is the wrong way. And it's going to be essentially opposite to what we see in the actual story. Although the Rangers of the North and Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli would make a difference, they are only 30 or so warriors.
Yeah.
They're not going to take on an entire army.
No.
So having that on board, I think the forces of good are pretty much wiped out here.
Yeah, I think obviously I think they'll take a lot with them, but yeah, I can't see how they win this with less of an army against an even bigger army. There's just not, even with the leadership, it's just not going to happen.
Now, the only kind of point we have to consider at this point is, what part does Gandalf play? Because he is, at the end of the day, he's an Astari, he's a Maya, he's extremely powerful, and he is almost the polar Sauron.
Yeah.
He's the opposite of Sauron. So,
well, I suppose, when you think about it, in the book, they never actually, the Forces of Mordor never get inside the walls of Minas Tirith. That doesn't happen in the book. They break the gates. Gandalf confronts the Witch King, and then the Rohirrim arrive, which takes them all back out onto the field. So now, they've gone back out onto the field. They've dealt with the Rohirrim. Once their reinforcements arrive, now they come back to the gate, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, the actual Witch King Gandalf showdown probably happens.
So are we assuming in this story that the Witch King hasn't fallen to Eowyn and Merry?
That's true. I think there's a good chance not, because
so many extra bodies means it's so unlikely for the same things to happen.
Yeah, there's a whole extra army there that you throw into the mix now. Like, would the Witch King even be as involved? Realistically, when the reinforcements of UMBAR come, he probably goes, okay, they've got this. I can go back and deal with the wizard.
Yeah.
I think that's quite likely. I don't think he'd be worried. Like, I think realistically, Theoden might die anyway.
Yeah.
By the hands of someone else.
I think the difference in numbers at this point is so vast that they basically just run through the reinforcements.
Yeah.
As in, Mordor runs through good reinforcements. Now, the difference is, if the Witch King does survive that and does move on past Merry and Eowyn, who have most likely fallen at this point, and he faces Gandalf, Gandalf, I think, would beat him.
Yes, one-on-one, yes.
So, whether we say that Glorfindel's prophecy here is wrong, or whether Gandalf isn't considered a man.
Well, he's not, is he? That's kind of what a lot of it was always thought, is he does fulfill that prophecy as well. So we'll say Gandalf defeats the Witch King, but then how powerful is Gandalf? Can he really stand up to an entire army? I don't think so.
Neither do I.
No.
I think
he has his moment, and then it's just fight to the death, but it's to the death.
It is to the death. So sadly, our White Wizard falls at this moment in time after courageously taking on the Witch King of Angmar and probably a couple of hundred orcs by himself. We'll just give him a grand fall. Like, he's epic.
I think at the end, he brings them all inside the walls and he pulls down Minas Tirith on top of them all. He takes himself out, but he takes 90% of them with him.
Yeah. He does something epic like
the whole mountain just brings it down on their head.
I think, well, it would be his last stand. So similar to how he was against the Balrog, he wouldn't any longer have like that fear of displaying his full power.
No.
So he displays his full power and takes out a lot of them, but falls simultaneously, unfortunately. So goodbye, Gandalf, for the second time. Now, the biggest issue here is we still have two hobbits working their way through Mordor.
Yes.
But there is a massive army of orcs still standing in the way. And this time we don't have the men of the West to distract them and take them away. So I think this also leads to Frodo and Sam also being captured in Mordor.
Yeah.
And taken to Barad-dûr. And I think Sauron regains the One Ring.
Yes, I don't think there's any way of stopping them at this point.
The only kind of wild card here is Gollum.
That's true. I mean, for someone like Gollum, I can picture he would more just stand back and wait and see what happens. I don't think he would. If Sauron basically came and actually took the ring, because obviously in the book as well, Sauron does have a body. He can physically go and do stuff. So I think Gollum wouldn't dare
No.
take the ring off him. So I think he basically wait in the shadows and maybe hope that Sauron loses the ring once more.
Just how terrified of Sauron Gollum is. After Gollum spent time basically being tortured in Mordor, his fear of the Dark Lord is pretty big. So I don't even think he'd risk, trying to steal the ring from Sauron. I think once Frodo and Sam, who he sees as potentially easier victims to manipulate or to best in some way, I don't think he'd risk it with, a few thousand orcs that are trying to take the ring to Sauron. So if Sauron gets the One Ring, there are no major characters to stand in his way. I mean, the elves are already leaving, so...
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even if the same situation happens in the war in the north, where the good guys win and survive, once those reinforcements that have taken out the south come up, then they're going to fall as well. So
you've got to remember just how many dwarves and men from Dale all fall at the Battle of Dale. So even after beating the Eastland and Orc army there, they are so weak that if the armies from Minas Tirith then went up to the north and took them out, it's easy pickings. And once Sauron's regained his full strength, who's really going to stand in his way? So then we're then left with a dark Middle-earth, almost post-apocalyptic in some areas of the world.
Almost like other places on the planet right now.
Yeah, very dark. Very sad, very scary.
Yeah, so there's not really a good end to this one.
No, this is a depressing one.
Yeah,
all of the characters we love die.
Yeah, so as much as people hate the Army of the Dead, turns out they're quite important.
Yes, they are. Now, in the movie,
yes,
I feel like it's not necessary. It is a bigger point in the movie because how the Army of the Dead just move through Minas Tirith and just they kill everything. Whereas they're not really.
That's the biggest difference. Is in the book they are more ghosts. They can't physically touch and kill someone. They just instill fear. That's their weapon. So yeah, they could run around Minas Tirith. They just can do a lot with it.
What really even happens? Do the orcs just run away? I don't know. I don't want to talk about the movie Army of the Dead. Yeah. But that's bringing this what-if scenario to a close, and it's depressing. It's sad. Yeah. But having said that, I would really be interested in seeing an actual post-War of the Ring Middle-earth with Sauron being victorious. Like, what would that look like? What would he enforce onto Middle-earth?
I think he'd be stood there with a blonde wig.
He just Sauron's whole point is he thinks that there needs to be control over Middle-earth, right? And he sees himself as the one to do that. So
instill order is the way basically they like to think.
Yeah. He doesn't think that men, elves, dwarves, hobbits should all have this free will where they can go about their business and do what they want. He thinks they need to be, put under control and there'd be some order to the entire world. And he wants to do that, and I think he would. I think he would put all of Middle-earth, there'd be no more Rohan Gondor, it'd be all Sauron world. That's what he'd call it.
Like Disneyland, but not as nice.
Sauron land. Yeah. The end.
The end, it's, I
don't think we missed anything in particular here. Like, the Dwarven armies were too weak, the elves were leaving, weren't really in trouble themselves.
Yeah, they probably would have left quicker, so...
Obviously, the only other thing we could take into consideration is would Sauron decide to go west?
I don't think so.
I don't even think he'd get there, really.
No, I don't think he is under... I don't think he's stupid enough to believe he could win that.
No.
I think if he can roll over his land, that's it. That's fine. He doesn't need the entire planet. As such, he just wants Middle-earth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was fun. Just like the last one was. Let us know what you guys think would have happened in that scenario. If Aragorn didn't go and summon the armies of the dead to fulfill their oath, what would happen? Yeah. Are we way off, or do you think we're along the right sort of lines? Did we miss any details? Let us know in the comments down below. Okay, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a good day, and we will see you next time.